Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town Board meeting of April 30th, 2024. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Diana, would you lead us out? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have a moment of silence as we remember our first responders, our military, those who keep us safe every day, and we wish for peaceful resolution to all of the ongoing strife within the world and an end to hate, especially with the increase of anti-Semitism out there right now. Thank you. All right, introductions, starting on my right.
Good evening, Diana Quast, Town Clerk.
Supervisor Ed Lachterman.
Councilman Sergio Esposito.
Councilwoman Luciana Howard.
Councilman Patrick Murphy.
Adam Rodriguez, Town Attorney.
All right, we will run into our reports. So on the agenda, it does still say Deputy Supervisor, but as of 6:30 this evening, it has been certified. So please make note. Thank you.
Congratulations, Ed.
Thank you. Please make note when we get to the resolutions that anything that does say Deputy Supervisor will be revised to read Supervisor in the official minutes. So I thank all that came out and voted in the election on April 16th and through the early voting. It was actually quite vigorous for a special election with almost 8,000 votes cast. I think in the last election in November it was 11,000. So it was a nice number for a very odd time to have a election. And we thank all who exercised their constitutional right to get out there and vote. We want to say congratulations to Yorktown Volunteer Ambulance and Mohegan Lake Volunteer Ambulance. They had their annual brunches on consecutive Sundays with their new line officers coming in. YVAC celebrated their 61st year in operation, so some excellent things there, and we thank them for their service. We had the Battle of Yorktown on the 19th or 20th, I think, of April, and Yorktowners collected approximately 11.1 tons of garbage. So we're only about 3 tons behind Dan Strauss's record for the year. We also had our mobile shredder on the 26th, which served 233 cars for 3.82 tons of paper that was shredded for recycling. That same day later, we had our Arbor Day celebration. We have some lovely art around the room that was painted by our 4th and 5th graders or drawn. So, actually, one of the winning ones, our first place which is right over here by the clerk's office, was actually painted and has texture and almost a 3D look to it. Some amazing work by these young ladies and gentlemen that were working on it. We did have Fam Jam, but I'm going to leave that for Patrick to talk about. Saturday night was the Lakeland Foundation for Excellence dinner, very well attended over at Elevate on Front Street. Nice time was had, and they did a wonderful job there. Great place to look at if you need an event. And the Chamber of Commerce had their Spring Fest and Car Show on Sunday, which was also very well attended. Had to park all the way by Macy's, and we got there pretty early in the day. A couple things upcoming. May 1st, we have a job fair at the Capellini Center. That's tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're doing it in conjunction with Westchester County and the Chamber of Commerce. There will be, I think, 40 different employers there, including trade unions and corrections. So it should be A great opportunity if you know anyone out there looking, and there will also be retail opportunities for people looking for some part-time work, kids coming home from college, as well as seniors who want to supplement a little bit. May is also Jewish American Heritage Month. We will be doing a resolution on the 7th for that, but on May 8th, part of that, which falls for Yom HaShoah, which is Holocaust Remembrance, we will be doing our Holocaust Remembrance event here at Town Hall, 7 p.m. Our speaker will be Annie Leeser Kleinhaus. She was of, I believe, Belgium descent, and she will tell her story of having to leave Belgium and go to another part of Europe and her survival through the Holocaust. So a very nice story, interesting, I should say. Not that the Holocaust stories are nice, but it's a story of survival, which is amazing. So please feel free to be here for that. They're usually very well attended, and we will also have that televised live on TV. And then May 11th at 10 a.m., there will be the renaming of Granite Knolls Park in honor of Tom Diana. So that'll be at Granite Knolls, 10 a.m. on Saturday, May 11th. And then the last thing, Assemblyman Slater has a collection box for women's hygiene. May is Women's Hygiene Month. They're doing it in honor of Mother's Day. And they had a very successful diaper drive in February. And, a lot of people don't realize feminine hygiene products are not eligible to purchase with SNAP benefits, very expensive, always in high demand. For those reasons, please consider donating, as these products will go a long way in helping women who are in need. Sergio?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. It's good to be back. Good to see everyone. Just to go down a bunch of events that we had in Yorktown. Again, as the supervisor put it, we had our Arbor Day celebration, which was really great. And did you speak about the tree bank that we got going on at Willow Park and that we're piping the water in? You want to talk about that?
No, we've already brought that up in meetings.
Okay.
But
All right.
we'll have tree committee come in up for something.
Fam Jam was a great success. Again, we'll leave that for Pat. There was also an event during Fam Jam at the high school. It's called 15 for Life. It was to shed the shame on depression and mental illness. If anybody knows the story, there was a young man who was very successful at lacrosse that went to Yorktown High School. His name was Rob Kevovit. His family was there at the high school where they played a memorial game in his honor. He was also a very successful collegiate player. And little did anybody know, he was suffering from depression, had a family, wonderful kids, and he succumbed to his depression in 2021. So the family's carrying on his mission, the mission to shed light on it. It was a really unbelievable event. I think Yorktown played Mamaroneck, Yorktown Lacrosse. So we're going to have more on that, right, coming up.
Yeah, next week we'll talk about it.
Next week. But it was actually very inspiring, and his brother actually spoke. He wore the number 15 because he had one sister and 5 brothers, and so it was all about family. But it's very sad, and what we could do to honor him is watch out for people that are suffering from depression. The signs sometimes aren't clear. Sometimes they're very clear. The Chambers Spring Market was unbelievable. The weather was incredible. I also went to Game Day Grill, who are true community partners, in my opinion, and they had an Autism Speaks day where we raised money for a very blessed young lady, Scarlett. It's called Scarlett Inspired. So whatever money she raises, that's her team to bring awareness to autism. And whatever money they raise gets donated to the Autism Foundation. So another great thing in Yorktown. YVAC, a Yorktown Volunteer Ambulance Corps, had their open house, amongst other things. It was really cool. I got a couple of cool videos on. They were teaching first aid. You could build your own first aid kit, and it was just to kind of get to know. They had food and everything. It was a great day.
Yep.
The weather was great there too.
And Luciano's husband was their cook.
Oh, that's right.
Rick did a great job, Luciano. Don't let him tell you he doesn't know how to make dinner anymore.
So when he drops the plates, I'll know that he's tricking me.
Yes.
Got it.
We had a couple of really fun events. Blossom Nursery opened up their doors for the season, so we did a ribbon cutting for them. The Shrub Oak Little League put on their opening day parade, and of course we had the Harrison A. Parr Field of Dreams baseball opening day for the YAC, Yorktown Athletic Club. On the horizon, we have on May 10th at the Elks, right, Pat?
Yes.
We have a Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. Yes. It's from 5 to 9, so if you guys want to stop by, we'll be there. And then on May 11th, we have an Eagle Scout recognition as well. I'll get you their
twins.
names. The twins, yeah. It's pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be Joshua and Jacob Ehrenberg. So that'll be I'll be very happy to see that. That's such a big honor, and these kids are doing so much, and it's incredible. I'll leave you with that. Again, it's good to see you, and I got one last thing. Congratulations, Ed. Really,
Thank you, sir.
from the heart.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ed. Okay, so I'm going to bring up again that the summer season is coming, and we are still having the opening for employments. If you're looking to either be a lifeguard, a front desk attendant, a half-day camp counselor, or a full-day camp counselor, it does close on May 10th. So if you know anyone who's 16 or over that's looking for a job this summer, please check out the Parks and Rec site and download the applications. I do want to give a big shout out to the Hilltop Hanover Farm and Environmental Center, which is now open, and also Meadows Farm right here up the street. They'll be opening up tomorrow for their plantings. On May 11th, I highly suggest you visit the Garden Club's Mother's Day sale. It's from 8 to 2 across from Suburban Wine and Spirits. What's most interesting about it is that not only are these going to be beautiful plants to gift or to plant in your own garden, but they're native to our community. With that being said, for $27, you can join the club. And what that comes with are some membership perks and workshops, garden tours, demonstrations. And this year, special to what they've done before, will be a how-to table, which will tell you how to foster the native plants, how to plant them, and how to have success in them. Some of the plants that'll be there will be like deer-resistant plants, perennials, different types of tree samplings, annuals, and their most gorgeous hanging plants. So I highly suggest from 8 to 2 you go there. Now, and another one of my favorites is the library, of course, and they're hosting, and I'm going to pull it up, I'm sorry, closed out. They're hosting a Talk and Learn with the Wolves, which I'm just like so excited to go to, and I'll give you this stuff on it, so just bear with me. It's for ages 5 and older. As we all know, that the John C. Hart Library has many amazing programs, but this one seems to speak to me. The library's hosting for ages 5 and above. Give me this is like my favorite thing. Okay, here we go. So I want to give her a proper shout out. Okay, so it's called Celebrating the Wolves with Your Local Author. So not only is there a book and a stuffy, but there'll actually be an entire conversation on Saturday morning, May 4th, from 10:30 to 11:30, and it's for children of the ages 5 and up. And it's Happy Birthday Howls from Trumpet and Attica. And it is a story that they'll get to actually sing happy birthday to this wolf. And I think that most of the children now in our community are doing a lot of work with the wolf conservation. So it just seems like a really good way to wrap it all up. I know that Brookside just did one book, one school, where the entire school explored they're explorers, and they explored the wolf conservation, and they each got to adopt a wolf from the wolf conservation and get to watch him on camera. So that was super neat. And then for those who love Harry Potter, there's trivia night on May 10th at 6 p.m. and it is Harry Potter themed. And that's all I got. Good to be with you.
I just want to piggyback off that garden club. Last year I bought 2 boxes, and it tells you exactly how to do it, and I put it in my planting box. They were absolutely spectacular. So I highly recommend going down there. Even if you don't know how to garden at all, they'll tell you exactly what to do. So that was one thing. The other thing that we had Fam Jam over the weekend. So this is we put together a little organization, and we raise money for local charities and stuff. And this year we raised about $30,000, you know, and this all came on the backs of the small businesses around here. Awesome. It was incredible. Like Sergio said, the community really stepped up and became partners and part of this. And honestly, the clerk's office stepped up. Diana, you guys did. The highway department, the Parks and Rec, the police, everybody came through. We're giving out $6,000, six $1,000 scholarships to high school seniors. So if you're out there, you still have a couple more weeks to go on to famjam.com and apply for a $1,000 scholarship. We give out a bunch of money to the local communities that need help. The Teen Center is the biggest winner this year. They came to us and they really need some help financially. So we stepped up and we're giving them some money. And we actually raised some money, and we got some paint donated, and we're gonna paint the Grange Fair, you know, over there. So
That's so cool.
yeah, you know, no, it was good.
The volunteers are going to be from
BOCES. John Farrell's very instrumental in this, and he got the kids from BOCES and the carpentry department. They're going to come down, and they're going to paint majority of the Grange Fair.
Nice.
So, and if any kids are looking to do volunteer work, you know, to get community service hours, please feel free to go to famjam.com and you could sign up there.
There's a young man doing an Eagle Scout project there too, with trying to redo the stage. So maybe
Oh, good. Yeah.
you guys can get involved with him.
No, it without a doubt.
Talk to me because he lives right behind me.
Perfect. So it was actually it was nice that the community really stepped up. This 100% from the local businesses that this money came from, and it's being dispersed. 100% that comes in, 100% goes out to other organizations that need help, the food pantries that are around here. So
There was one thing I forgot. This was given to me by one of our local historians and authors, Dave Rocco. He's now involved with the Fireboat McKeon Preservation Project. The John D. McKeon fireboat, which was retired, it would serve New York City. It was one of the boats that during 9/11 was putting out the flames on the pile. It was parked down at the battery, and then they also responded to Captain Sullyberg's emergency landing in the Hudson River, if you remember that.
oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Oh yes, I do remember.
right now it's housed at Stony Point, but there's a project in Tarrytown to redo the old GM and their General Motors plant, and they asked if they would be interested in housing the boat there. So it's an interesting project. They are looking to raise funds for the preservation because I guess there's some emergency repairs to keep it afloat. If anyone's interested, you could contact me in my office. I'll give this to Lorraine so she'll have the information, but it's www.fireboatmckeon.org, and McKeon is spelled McKean. So if you're interested in history, firemen, fireboats, it's a great little project. Thank you.
Great.
All right. We move into presentations. Is there anyone here from T-Town? Oh, I guess they did not come. T-Town is also doing a plant sale. Luciana, if you could pull that up, and we'll go over it after.
Sure, I'm happy to.
After Lynn Briggs goes, so we'll ask Lynn to come up for the Rochambeau Festival.
Sure. Thank you.
Oh, you can actually do both. You can do the one for the garden club and the one to
Same day?
Yeah, it's Friday, May 10th, 3 to 7. Sorry, Lynn. And Saturday, May 11th, 9 to 2. So you can really get your plant on. And it's going to 3 to 7 on May 10th is first pick. And there's going to be music, wine, hard cider, local craft, beer, and food to enjoy. Okay, so this is a party. And then purchase the ticket online ahead of time to take advantage of the membership as well. It's only $30 for the first pick. And if not, it's May 11th, free admission from 9 to 2. And if you can, bring a cart to streamline your shopping experience. Okay,
Thank you.
that's great.
All righty.
Take it away, Lynn.
Thank you. I'm Lynn Briggs. I'm chairman of the Yorktown Heritage Preservation Commission, and I'm also New York State chair for the Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route Organization. We call it W3R for short. And I'm one of 9 state chairs, part of the U.S. organization that is committed and focused on commemorating our independence from Britain in 2026. So what I'd like to do is tell you about an event we're having on May 18th, 19 of this month at the Yorktown Grange, also known as Rochambeau Park, okay? And it's a 2-day event. It's going to be hosted by the YHPC, Yorktown 250. It will be hosted by the Grange and also by W3R New York. So what it is, if you look at page 1 there, it's what we call a really total immersive event into the Revolutionary War history and what happened here in Yorktown. And we're going to kick it off on Saturday. It's a 2-day event, and then we're going to kick it off at 10 a.m. The park opens, and we're going to do a history hunt, which is a digital application that we have on your phones. And we're going to send kids out and circle through all the different events and ask them a question about history. And the idea is to get it right, record it on your phone, send it in, and then win a prize at the end of the day. And we're going to do that both days. But the idea is to teach kids and families what happened here with the Revolutionary War in Rochambeau. So another thing we're going to have is at 10:15, this is really a terrific, fun thing, we're bringing in 2 oxen, 2,000-pound oxen from Massachusetts. Their names are Birch and Oak, and they are going to do some heavy hauling and demonstrate how they pulled cannons and things like that back in the Revolutionary War. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have a member of the French Luzon Legion Regiment. He's called a hussar, and he's going to come on his horse dressed in all the regalia of the Revolutionary War Luzon Legion's regiment. So we followed that with some encampment lectures on how encampments were set up and configured. And then we've got the Brigade of the American Revolution going to do some demonstration and drills for us by lunchtime. At 12, we do a formal kickoff. And this is all in flux right now, but essentially, we're going to welcome folks, but we're also going to have a nice feature. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know how many of you know a gentleman named John Griffith. He's the superintendent of local schools, or assistant, I guess. He's going to sing the French and the U.S. national anthems. And he's going to personally be there, maybe play the piano and whatnot. So it's going to be live right on set there. I'm going to give a little profile, if you will, or portfolio of literally what happened here with the troops back in 1781 and 82. We talk about the troops coming here. Okay, what does that mean? Who came here? Where were they? What did they do? And then we're thrilled to have back General Vincent D. Keatspotter, who is the head of the French Defense Mission to the United Nations. He spoke last year. He's going to speak as well. Andrew Stewart Cousins, we've asked to come speak. We don't have that confirmed yet, but Senator Pete Harkin will be here, Senator Shelley Mayer, and a couple of other speakers we're pleased to have. Thierry Canu. Thierry is the president of Souvenirs Français. That is the organization in the United States that makes sure French soldiers who served with us back in the Revolutionary War are properly interred and respected in death. And he will be here and talk about that. And then we have Richard Azzaro. Richard is the co-founder of the Society of the Honor Guard of the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. He's guard number 19 when Kennedy was interred at Arlington. And he's co-founded a concept called Never Forget Garden. And what that connotes is trying to get people to never forget those who served for us and helped us achieve our freedom. And we're going to do a groundbreaking, if you will, and actually create a Never Forget Garden at the Grange in this concept, okay? And then we'll close it out. In the afternoon is we're going to have George Washington review the troops, and we're going to have an unveiling of the Never Forget Garden. And the general will come back and give another deeper little talk on the French are coming, the Yorktown campaign. His wife, Helene, is going to speak about how women or what women did in the Revolutionary War. And then we talk a little bit more about encampments and setup, tactical demonstrations. And all throughout the day, the Grange is hosting chickens, goats,
butter churning,
milk baking, actually cheese making. All of that is going to be on display there for kids to participate in. And we'll do the history hunt. The next day, day 2, we're going to start with the history hunt again, but we are also going to add a bus tour. And so right outside where there's the commemorative rock that says dedicated to Rochambeau, a minibus is going to take up to 28 folks on a tour, a visual tour of all of the encampment sites in Yorktown. So we don't get off, we just show people where they are and we educate them as to what happened there. So that's going to be part of our Saturday. So every hour on the hour, the bus tour is going to take place. So we reprise the encampment lectures, the drills, the George Washington reviewing the troops and so on. And so we finish up the day with an actual drill down on the Franco-American Alliance done by Comte de Rochambeau himself. He's going to give a presentation about the French alliance and our role with the French. And then we wrap up. So that's pretty much page 3. Let me turn to page 4 because I'm really happy. It's a list of the exhibitors who are going to be in our exhibit hall. But we're happy to have back the Yorktown Library, the John C. Hart Memorial Library. It's coming back. Yvonne and her team are coming over. We've got the Historical Society. The museum is going to participate this year, and the Copper Beach Junior High History Club. And so we've got 4 sets of farms who are coming with their animals. So we got a lot of food and beverage and a fun day for everybody. And so we encourage you all to come out and join in the fun for the 2 days. So let me pause here and ask if there are any questions. Okay. One thing
Sounds
I'd like to
awesome.
know is, could we, Ed, possibly get the help of Thompson Bender to help us promote the event?
I already have them on it.
You do? Okay, great.
I'll make sure that Ernie contacts you.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Let me just hand out the flyer just as a friendly reminder, and I think that's a wrap.
Did you send this to Robin to put on the town website?
I did, yes. All right. Thank you very much.
If you, wait, where you going? Where you going?
Oh,
Come on
sorry.
back.
Okay.
So, I mean, it really sounds wonderful. I mean, it sounds well put together, and you know, it's just very interesting. I like the hunt, the
History
digital
hunt?
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I'm not. My daughter's graduating college on the 18th.
Okay. All right. Understand.
So if, I won't be there, unfortunately. You know, but I really would like to. Can I scan this in and put it on Facebook for you? And
Absolutely.
stuff like that?
Be our guest. Yes.
Be happy to do that.
Any and all social media outlets are welcome.
So, Lynn, how was the last year? How was the attendance?
It rained the entire
Yeah, I remember
time.
that.
Okay, but despite that, and despite the fact that we never fired one musket, we had over 200 over 200 people there. So we considered it a success because everybody had to jam in the Grange Hall. But it was standing room only. We even had the goats running through the main hall there.
So it was a real Revolutionary War feeling.
there you go. It was.
All right, fantastic.
It sounds wonderful.
Okay.
Good job, Lynn.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Did anyone? I saw. Oh no, that wasn't T-Town. So it was Mary. Did anyone take John's poem to read?
Oh yeah, I have that. Yep.
Unfortunately, our poet laureate lost his dog yesterday.
Oh.
Yeah, but he gave her a great life. Was taken care of with canine diabetes and all. John, our heartfelt condolences. We know what she meant to you. And Sergio, I think, is going to be able to read his poem for tonight.
Yes, I'm just.
Trying to find it.
Yeah, I was supposed to print it, but. Just give me 1 second. All right, here we go. This is unscripted. Okay, here we go. April was a weird month by John F. McMullen. April 2024 was a weird month. April always has been weird. It's between the cold of March and the warmth of May. I remember once that it even snowed on April Fool's Day, but this is the worst yet. The temperature was veered 50 degrees in a day, making me remember weather in 1963 Oklahoma, when we New Yorkers in the Army's forts still called it expletive deleted. But this year's Yorktown weather had neither the excuse of a weather wind blowing from either Mexico or Illinois, 61 degrees in the daytime, a frost alert at night. We even had a special election. It was just plain weird. But now we go to May. Thank God. Copyright John F. McMullen, 2024. There you go.
Very good, thank you. All right, and we will get to our public hearings. Adam, you want to lead us out on these?
Sure, just give me 1 second, pull it up. So, yeah, the first one is to amend Chapter 275 to effectively make it illegal to park commercial vehicles on the service road outside the golf course. It's just a fairly simple addition to the code.
All right,
There was, go ahead, I mean,
I was going to say, I know
there
we
was
got
one comment from Mr. Kopstein. I mean, he can get up and however he wants to deal with it. You know, his concern was that I guess the language could be read to be saying that we're authorizing unregistered commercial vehicles to park on the service road. I don't read it that way. To do that would violate other sections of our code, not to mention New York state law. But I prepared already a modification to it that would address that and make it clear that that's not what's happening.
Yeah, I think the intent on that was that people don't use it for a storage area, have a plate on it, take it over there, take the plate off and leave it for storage. But, you know, if everyone's in favor of the modification, I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, but so just to be clear, I would change it, the proposed law, to say at the end, unless said commercial vehicle is properly registered, has properly affixed license plates, and is engaged in the process of delivery or rendition of services to the town's golf course. So that would address Mr. Kopstein's concern. I don't know, are there any other concerns? Obviously.
Okay. Well, let's open for public comment.
Not having seen the modification and read the legislation, there's no way to intelligently comment on it. It wasn't on the website. I looked at it today. It wasn't there.
Wasn't given to the town clerk's office.
Well, if it wasn't in the town clerk's office, how are we having a public hearing on a piece of legislation that nobody had the opportunity to read?
I did not realize it did not go to the clerk's
No,
office.
to be clear, I'm proposing that change now to address your concerns, sir. So there is no draft for anyone to look at. Nothing was posted. Your concern came in today, and I'm addressing it now. You're raising it.
My
That's
concern
go ahead.
came in at the last town board meeting. I've got a copy, and I sent the copy around. It didn't come in today.
Yep,
I saw it today. That's all I can tell you.
Well,
Jay, are you
That's-
are you comfortable with the language that Adam just read?
no, because I can't read it. I don't know what was changed. The modification to what?
He just read.
He didn't read the whole thing.
I can read the whole thing if you want.
I think what we ought to do is make it available on the website so that people can read the proposed legislation. That's what we're supposed to do.
No, absolutely. So, Diana, none of the proposed legislation went on?
All of our proposed legislation is on the website. His amendment that he wants to make
Oh,
now
the
is
am-
addressing Mr. Kopstein's concerns.
Right.
So that's why he read them off now, because if you were to do the public hearing, you would amend it to adjust it to that verbiage.
Right.
That's why it wasn't sent ahead of time, because he didn't know the town board would want it or not.
Ordinarily,
Right, it's being presented.
Or-
as-
And what
ordinarily-
happens, so I can finish.
Yeah.
What happens typically before we hold a public hearing, we send all comments out to everyone so that you have them in advance of the town board meeting to read them. Mr. Kopstein did send them to us ahead of time.
Yeah, I only received it today.
Well, you're on his CC. list.
and look, ordinarily, I wouldn't even have the stuff ready tonight. You guys would take his comments, you would say, hey, Adam, right, we think we
Right.
want to address that. Then I would go and revise them, and then you would vote on it next time.
Right.
I'm actually proposing the change right here, live, for him to consider during the public hearing, in
Okay,
advance of the public
but
hearing.
if he feels more comfortable seeing it in writing, we could
Well, that's fine.
put
He
off the
can,
vote till next week.
we can't vote till next week anyway because we're making a change to it.
Right.
So that's not an issue. Nobody's voting on anything tonight.
Okay, so if we could get the change put in and then have that posted on the site, and then
Thank you.
we could bring it up next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Which was going to happen anyway, right? That's the standard
That's the
procedure?
procedure.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
I just wanted to be clear on that.
Okay, but I just want to be clear that this is Mr. Copstein's concern, and it arrived today at 3:49 p.m.
Yeah. No, that's why I got it.
I got no. I'm showing it to you.
Yeah, no, I
But,
know.
but it's,
Yes,
it's,
but he
it's,
sent
it's
it out
irrelevant.
It,
before.
it was out before.
it's,
It's okay.
He sent it before.
It's okay because Adam is bringing it up now, and we weren't going to vote on this today anyway.
Right.
So what we'll do is we'll include that amendment, which we're not arguing that should be in, right? We're agreeing.
Right.
And so we'll add that, you'll be able to read it, and then next week we'll be able to vote on it
Vote on
as,
next week.
as the proper procedure dictates.
Mr. Lieberman?
Good evening, Mark Lieberman, Wells Street. So I don't know what's changed since last summer, but last summer, going to the restaurant over there are cars parked in the evening on both sides of that shoulder, and there is absolutely no way a fire truck can make a turn and get between the cars to get to the place should there be a need for a fire truck. So I know you're talking about commercial vehicles. I think it should be a broader change. Thank you.
Oh, you mean that all different size vehicles?
Yeah, I can too.
Excuse me. Dan Strauss, 58-year resident of Yorktown. I don't know about the exact language. I think Mr. Copsey made a good point as far as that's concerned. But my issue is, where did these vehicles all of a sudden come from that are parked there? I remember sending you an email to Mr. Lachterman and to the board, copied the board, and I'm not being critical of reply, or I asked, where did all of a sudden these trucks come from? And trucks and the cab and then the part that you leave. Some have left, some are total, some are. So where did they come from? And what's going to say that they're not going to be parked somewhere else? I just don't understand. After all this time, they've been there for about 6 months, if I'm not correct or mistaken. Whatever. About 6 months that there could have been no. I think I mentioned. I mean, hasn't anyone just gone to the people who are parking there, who own them, and say what's going on? I just don't follow that. I know that you're drafting a law, which is fine, but there seems to be no basis for the law if you haven't been in contact. What's the deal with this? And who says if you're not going to allow them to park there, that they're not going to move them somewhere else? I don't just understand where they've arrived from. Okay, so I guess I've dwelled on that enough. The other thing that has come to mind now, that it was discussed about the fire engine and the parking back about 8 or 9 months ago. There was discussion about that there was going to be a remedy or a law, I believe, changed that made it very clear about that parking, that there would be access for a fire engine or EMT or whatever to get there in event of an emergency. So that means, again, that time has transpired and the same situation is evident. I can't attest to it because I haven't been there, but I believe the gentleman who just talked has been there and there's an issue with it. So I'm again questioning that. What's going on with that? Okay? Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Strauss.
Okay, any other comments? Okay. To address the vehicles, where they came from, what they're doing there, we have tried contacting the companies that are there. A lot of them are leased. People are trying to use that because there was a question as to whether we have jurisdiction or not based on the fact that it is on a state road. So part of the issue is that there's not, when you have 5 tractor trailers taking up half the parking, there's no parking. So we have tried contacting. I've gone there. Matter of fact, I was driving by one night at about 12:30 in the morning, and I saw lights on in one of them, and I went there, but there was no one there. I don't know why the lights were on, but I knocked on the door. I wanted to try to find out. I can tell you that owning a commercial vehicle, you are required by town code, if you're parking it on your property, you need a special use permit, and you need to have it screened and covered. Apparently, these are people that are trying to avoid that, or they might not even be from Yorktown. They just see a park and ride and decide they could park there. So the idea of the laws, we went through it. We will now be able to ticket. We will be able to, we put up signage already in advance of the law passing, and now we'll be able to enforce it. And if it's up to me, every single day, whether it's been ticketed or not, there will be paper dropped on that vehicle. And they will eventually move it because it's not going to be worth it. You will end up with more in parking fees than it would cost you to park it somewhere. As for the fire lane, I know it was addressed by fire safety, or by our parking and road safety committee. I will find out. I was under the impression that they were supposed to put up some signage and stripe off some of the area there for no parking, but I will definitely follow up on that. There is a committee that handles that as they handle these, and we have to go through them and have the proper process followed. Part of their dilemma, I think, which we have settled, was where is our jurisdiction on it. So that is being worked at, and
I believe the people were parking right up to the edge of the mouth of the opening.
yes.
And that has been striped off, and now, so this way to allow for the turn of a fire truck or something like that. And as to, I'm sorry.
No, please.
As to, what basis, I think, Dan, they're using it, as a rest stop, and, we're trying to prevent that. And where they go from here, I mean, hopefully not anywhere else in Yorktown. And if they have to stop somewhere else, then so be it. But, the basis of the law is so that we could have some enforcement.
See, they think it's DOT's property, and they think it's DOT's property, and they can just come and park and with no ramifications. So this is why we're trying to do the law, so that now we can ticket them and stuff.
My question's for Adam. Adam, are we able to ticket them and then tow them?
Yeah.
Instead of it being this whole process of for me, it's like after one warning, I would just tow them right out of there.
Yeah, I think there is a tow clause, and we will give an
I'm just
opportunity.
curious.
Yes, you can tell.
But yeah, you can.
Due to
tow
the fact that it has these ramifications for safety and whatnot, it should just
yeah.
be removed.
Jay, if you need to you could get up again.
This is directed to Adam because it's happened before. I think if you restripe or change the rules, you've got to modify the town code as to pavement markings and signage. Otherwise, they're not enforceable.
Right.
I'll start with the second part of the issue. I just find it, if there is an issue about the fire truck, not being able to get to the restaurant with the parking. I find it hard to believe that you would allow a restaurant to be operating where people's lives are being jeopardized. That's it. That's
Well-
my comment there.
Yep.
Okay?
So I will address that. The fire department can come in, park on road, and bring hoses down. If they need to get closer to the building, but the building is close enough to the street.
Is that a
They
fact?
can, yes, that is a fact.
Okay.
They are able to, because the setbacks are within the use of a fire truck. But they should be able to get right into the lot. And as Mr. Copstein just pointed out, the striping alone isn't enough. We have to pass legislation, but we need that legislation to come as a recommendation from our committee.
But-
I will push on it to make sure. I believe they have a meeting coming up, and we will get that into a format.
But I'm just going to follow up by saying that Mr. Lieberman, in his experience, from what he said, that was not the case, that a fire truck could not access there.
So Dan, I hear Mr. Lieberman's experience, and I also hear what Mr. Kopstein and also what you're saying. And for me, it's an ability to look at the towing and this don't hold, like you shouldn't be just leaving your car there. So for me, I'm okay with running the plates and figuring out if I can find you. And if I can't find you, due to the safety, which everyone seems to be addressing, we're removing your vehicle.
Yeah, but why hasn't that been done now?
I can't,
Okay.
I hear that, and
All
I
right.
will take those hits as they come.
Actually,
But I am curious if we can have them merge, whether we have a tow law or not. When it comes to safety, it should be a quicker turnaround.
Actually, we have someone who was here for the fire inspection, and when they looked at the site in the back, our Director of Parks and Recreation. So after Mr. Strauss is done, we'll have him come up and he could talk about his.
But I also I hear that, Mr. Supervisor, but I want to just address that what they're saying is the vehicle, not that the restaurant is in a bad place, but the vehicles are in the way.
I understand.
Well,
but-
I understand that. I mean, I understand that. But if the vehicles are in the way, that means that, if I understand it correctly, that the fire truck cannot get there. So therefore, you're jeopardizing people's lives who are in the restaurant. That's all I'm
And
saying.
the last couple times I've been there, it's,
Gentlemen, ladies, can I have Jim come up? Because he was there. He actually has photos. Okay.
And I want to just finish on
Sure.
going back to the first part. If those trucks have been there, trucks or cabs or whatever, have been parking there for 6 months, I find it hard to believe that that someone has not been able to contact the people who own those trucks and find out what the deal is. And I will say this, if you want to give me the name of the truck, the name of the people, I will do it. I will do it.
Thank you.
Okay? If you want me to do that, I'll be happy to do it, and then I'll come back to you and say, I have not been able to contact these people, and you could give me a week to do it. I'm offering that. Okay? Thank you.
thank you, Dan.
Jim, come on up and talk about the fire safety.
Yeah, on August 11th, Tom Diane and I and Mohegan Fire did a walkthrough, and we did determine that a fire truck could safely go in. There was some recommended striping that Tommy had that we looked at, but we weren't sure with what you mentioned before, with it being a state road, whether or not we were able to put the striping down.
So how did they determine the turn angle if there were no cars there?
I think they measured out both sides, 9 feet, I believe.
I think with one of your photos, I saw cones,
Yeah, there was cones, and we had chalk as well.
and then they literally brought the fire truck in,
Correct.
and there was no problem on the turn radius, and they were able to get in.
No, sir.
And that was done when? Because it was done several months ago. So
August
just
11th.
to address the point that, we're putting people's lives in danger, I just want to make sure that we're in full understanding that we're dealing with two separate issues. One issue is the commercial vehicles. That seems to change. It's a different commercial vehicle. It's not the same guy sleeping
correct.
in his 18-wheeler parked on the actual opposite side of the opening of the restaurant. All right, so that's one issue that we are trying to address by bringing in some kind of legislation that would make it enforceable for us to have them removed or moved or ticketed. And that's the idea behind this. The second concern, or however what order it was this, that the fire truck couldn't get in there. That was addressed months ago. And they did put, I don't know if, I don't remember off the top of my head if there's a sign there that's preventing cars from parking at the edge of the opening, so this way the turn radius can happen. So, you know, before we go making these accusations that we're putting people's lives in danger, we should really get our facts straight, because in actuality, this has been addressed, and if it needs to be addressed more so, we contacted our professionals. We had our Parks Department there. They determined that it is possible,
Actually, our fire department, Mohegan Lake Fire Department.
as well as the Mohegan Lake Fire Department.
I think we keep an eye on it. The last couple times I've been there, there's only been parking on the inside, where they're closer to the golf course. The right side has been open. So, you know, I think but we keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and
That's
I
all.
think we should get an answer on the striping situation, because
I
it's been
know
out.
Dave has been out because of his hip surgery, so I believe they have a meeting coming up. So
I know Dave was looking into it. Yeah.
I got to say, I'm almost positive it's striped. I'm not 100% certain, but I know that something was done where cars aren't parked at the edge anymore. So this way the turn radius is possible, and the fire truck once again can get to the restaurant.
Yeah. But we do need to legalize the striping.
Sure.
And make sure that it's set. So we will
100%.
take care of that.
Thank you.
Jimmy, thank you. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Sure, Howard.
Hello, my name's Howard Gould. I've been with you in Yorktown since 1999. I'm thinking with the fire trucks during an emergency, I don't know how quickly they were in there when Tom, Diana, and Jim were doing it, but I would think under an emergency, if they were going quickly or slowly, or, I mean, I wasn't there, so I can't say exactly what the situation was, but during an emergency, I don't think, and the police wasn't involved, I don't know, they're not going to be driving slowly, they're going to be driving quickly, so I don't know how quickly, how slowly, so I don't know if that was taking in consideration when this practice drive was taking. So if you're in a race, you ever see race cars? How quickly they turn, and sometimes they get into accidents. How are they going to allow for that turn? It's just a question.
Thank you, Howard.
You're welcome.
So our police and our fire departments, you can say that, Howard. Our police and fire departments do take safety into consideration in every time they go to a scene. In fact, with the police, we don't even do high-speed chases. Cars are left to, you know, if they're speeding away, we try to get a plate. Hopefully, they go through a plate reader. But even with the fire department, they slow down on scene. They don't rush in. It's part of their standard operating procedure. And I think Mr. Tegeter, you may be able to talk about what's involved in planning with the turn radiuses and the fire trucks, if we need any more clarification. We're sort of off topic. I know. 100%
You know,
off
we're in
topic.
Sweden now. Not
Right.
not
So
the par 3 golf course.
So I'd like to try to finish up on what we're speaking about for the law, which is for the no parking, commercial vehicles, and then we will move forward with the information here to make sure that everything is still copacetic with the fire department as they have been there, actually now multiple times because they were there in the beginning as well.
I just want to make it very clear. I am not throwing out accusatory statements about people's lives. If that problem doesn't exist that we're talking about, so be it. I simply said that I do not feel, or I do feel, that there should not be a situation where people's lives are in danger.
As do
That's all I said.
As do we. We agree.
That's all I said. Number two, the other issue is separate. The trucks is a separate issue. It has nothing to do with the other situation, unless those trucks start to move in a situation where it could be a situation.
And the legislation that we're proposing is to prevent that altogether from having those trucks
I
there.
fully understand that.
So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
You mentioned, Ed, that when you went by one day that you saw lights on in one of the vehicles.
Correct.
So I'm wondering, very often a trucker will sleep in his truck. And I'm wondering if your law takes into account, should that be the case, is it a worse penalty or not a worse penalty? I personally don't like the idea of people sleeping in their trucks on the streets of the town. Thank you.
Well, the whole idea is to get them off the street,
Right.
so that there's not an opportunity that
And I will say there's an unfortunately, sometimes truck drivers are forced, if they're stuck in accidents, they have a certain amount of hours, but this isn't a truck stop, and they need to find a truck stop. So, and sometimes if they're delivering to a particular business, that business may let them park in their lot, but that's totally up to them. I've experienced that in the restaurant industry where my driver had to keep his truck there overnight. It's like, well, put it in the back lot and leave it there. But, you know, because he couldn't drive anywhere else. There's a certain amount of hours you're allowed to drive with the NTSB for your CDL ones, class ones. All right. Any other comments for?
Anthony Pichette. Just a quick question about I know it's a little off topic, but curious now. Yeah, are you able to, like, do you monitor the vehicles that are there? Like you said, you go by and some vehicles have been there for a long time. Are you able to monitor? Are the police able to monitor? Because, you know, who knows, if they're there for a while, you don't know what's going on. You don't know, that is a safety issue too. So I know it's off topic. I'm just curious.
Well, it's easy to recognize when you drive by. The vehicles do change. I've definitely noticed that. I've taken phone numbers down. I've called. I've gotten, this is a rental company. We're really not sure. These are long-term rentals through different various companies. So it's an unfortunate thing, but we're looking to legislate to make it where they don't want to be here. It's the best we could do at this point. Any other comments? So we just have the one change that we want to look at. Why don't we adjourn this and then we can...
You can close and then just vote on it.
Okay, well, let's close the public hearing then. We'll get that up as soon as possible, Adam.
I will send it very shortly.
Very good.
We need a motion in a second.
Okay, yep.
You may make a motion.
Motion to close, yeah.
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right, our next proposed local law to amend Chapter 275, the Town of Yorktown entitled Vehicles and Traffic. And this is for the speed limits. Adam, do you want to address the changes?
Sure, just bear me 1 second. So, it's a reduction in speed. The first part for 17A would reduce the speed limit to 30 miles an hour for that strip, and then the remaining ones would be dropped to 20 miles an hour. I mean, but otherwise, it's pretty self-explanatory.
Right, so 40 miles per hour is on Underhill from, what is that, west side of Overhill Street, and the point at which the entrance and exit ramps of the northbound side of the Taconic Parkway intersect with Underhill Avenue would be okay for 40 miles per hour and then 30 down into the town, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then Aqueduct Road, Hitching Post, Woodfield Court, High Ridge Road, Baptist Church Road, and Wood Street Hill between Overhill and Route 118 would be 20 miles per hour. And that request comes from the residents in those areas asking for a slowdown. They did not feel the 30 was appropriate for the conditions there, and our traffic safety agreed. So we'll open for public comment.
Jay Copstein, I've got a quick question and a comment. First, did the traffic safety officer go along with changing the speed limit
Yes.
in the middle of a run? And is the town board aware that you're going to have to put additional signage up, not for the change in the speed limit, but to warn people that you've got a change in the speed limit coming up, and then you have to give them a reasonable distance in which to reduce their speed, and is that going to just prevent any enforcement? So are we going to make it more difficult to enforce the speed limit because we're changing the speed limit? And anybody who's driven back on 9W from West Point, when it goes from 55 to 45 to 35 to 30, all it is a speed trap for the town of Highlands, but you can't slow down that quickly. And they have extra signs up. And so as long as the traffic safety officer, not the committee, not civilians that know very little about traffic safety.
Both of our traffic safety officers are on that committee.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Dan Strauss, again. Maybe you could just explain the roads that are listed. What is the, I can't think of the word. Why are they being listed?
Because when you have a specific speed limit on a road, it has to be listed. It's the same thing with like no parking on a road. You have to list from the corner of A and B, 20 feet in or whatever it is. So we're required to make sure that someone could read the law, understand exactly where they can and can't.
So there has been.
I think what you're asking is why these roads? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm just kind of curious then, what is the speed limit on those roads?
30.
But why, it's 30 right now.
Then we're reducing it to 20.
It says
That section of the law says it's reduced to 20.
Oh, it's 20 now.
You got two
Yes.
sections. You got Underhill Avenue.
But does it say that here?
When you read the law, which is 275-17B, section 1.
The law, this is what the law says. The rate of speed on the roads listed below shall be 20 miles per hour. So
Did
we're
I-
amending it to add these roads in the law below that.
But does it say it here?
No, it doesn't need to say it there. It says
No,
it
it's
in the actual
it
code.
says it in the actual code.
Oh, but
And this is the
then I
amendment to
didn't
the code.
understand. Did you say that before? That it
Said
was?
yeah, I said it when we.
Oh,
I
I apologize. I
No-
didn't
no
hear
problem.
that. Okay, so it's 20 in those.
being reduced
That's
to 20
fine.
miles per
Okay, so the other question I have on Underhill, I think that's always been a kind of an issue, and even going back many years, I remember something happened where there was a. Why do you have to have a change there? Why don't make it all 30? Why do you have to have 40? To complicate things. Why shouldn't Underhill be all 30 to keep the traffic down, to keep the speed of the traffic? And the people complain that cars come down the hill coming towards town at 50 and 60. I've seen it.
That's where the reduction is.
Okay, but then why do you have to make a difference? Why don't just keep it at 30?
It was at the request of the town residents years back that they changed
Well, why
it.
don't you change it now to 30?
The request hasn't been for that. The people specifically asked for a reduction coming down the hill into town that had contacted
I understand,
traffic
but
safety.
the town speed limit is 30. Isn't the town
It-
speed
other-
limit 30?
except where posted.
Yeah, but so I'm just saying again, why don't you to make things simple? Because Jay has talked about a speed trap and situations like that. why don't they just make it 30? That's all.
We've gotten feedback from different feedback from different residents who don't feel it should be 30, and others don't feel it should be 40. So if we could get the entire town to say, "Hey, we want 30," that's fine. But not everybody feels as you do, and so that's part of the reasoning behind it. And the people that do feel as you do were in this section of the road, and they put in the request.
And also,
Is that accurate?
the buses stop on from Overhill down. They stop at there, Rochambeau. They stop at all the roads. The buses don't stop between Overhill and Taconic. You know, there's a handful of residents in there. That's it. You know, so in the morning, you've been out in the morning. People need to go to work. You know, they're going to get frustrated. You know, and like Jay said, it's going to end up becoming a speed trap. You know, they're gonna go to Taconic over 30. You know, and they could just sit there. The cops can just sit there and write. You know, so it was a very good compromise starting from where the buses stop.
Sam Rosenfeld. I'm a Yorktown resident since 1977.
Hey, Sam.
Can the board state unequivocally that the change in the speed limit on Underhill has nothing at all to do with the development of the Soundview property or a request by the developer of the Soundview property to change the speed limit?
I can. I could tell you who contacted me originally. Mrs. Fang has been very adamant about trying to get this changed for quite a while, and this has gone through the Traffic Safety Board. We have residents, especially what road is that, Diana? I'm drawing a blank. The one just to the left there when you pull in. Where Mrs. Fang? I'm sorry?
I think it's Cardinal Court.
Cardinal, thank you. The residents on Cardinal in particular.
Just step to the mic, please.
Your word is good. If you say you can state it
Oh, yeah.
unequivocally, it's my question.
I've had conversations with constituents that have nothing to do with the developer.
I've even met members of Mrs. Fang's family on this topic at the diner, so we could discuss it. And there were other residents as well, not just her.
Not just her.
Not
Yeah,
just them.
I've spoken to other.
Yeah, hi. My name is Martin Costello.
Hey, Martin.
And I live right on Underhill. And I would suggest in terms of this speed limit, because I see cars racing past there all the time, that at least they should go up past Anna Court. Because I live next to Anna Court, on the town side of Anna Court, and the bus stops at Anna Court. There's about 5 or 6 houses over there. And so the buses stop there, not at Overhill Street. They stop there too, but at least come up past Anna Court, you know? So if you're going to amend it,
I will give that back to Traffic Safety and ask them for, because they're
Right.
the ones who dictated the boundaries of this speed.
yeah,
limit
there's
and all
there's
that.
at least 5, and I've seen people come with their cars waiting at the foot of Anna Court for people to get off the bus with kids up there.
Yeah. Okay.
It makes sense,
Appreciate
Martin.
that. Thank
No,
you.
I
Martin.
appreciate that, Martin.
Ed, can you just speak quickly to our Traffic Safety Committee and then make up?
Sure. The Traffic Safety Committee is made up of both of our traffic safety officers, Rob Rohr and Max Ellsworth, Dave Paganelli, and we have a civilian who is sort of a quasi-civilian, Bill Bertram, who was the traffic safety officer for the city of White Plains for, I believe, 25 years. I also go to those meetings now, as the supervisor usually sits in on that as well.
And it's their recommendations that
Well,
this law
they
is
they take the recommendations that come from the residents and the constituents, and they go out, they observe, they go through New York State vehicular traffic law to make sure that what people are looking for can be done. There are some things, so there's a whole thing on primary roads, tertiary roads, roads coming in, coming out. Jay's smiling because he knows, and so it's not as easy as saying, let's do that. There's a whole procedure or a whole basket of things that need to be looked at, and that's honestly why we use the professionals. You have to,
And they do have a nice skill set.
Oh, they have a
you
great
know.
skill set.
So
Our-
they're not just,
Yeah.
you know,
And
they
yeah.
have the experience.
No, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Sure, sure.
Adam, New York City wanted to lower speed limits on roads, certain roads, to 20 miles an hour. They had to get enabling state legislation. In fact, it was in the legislature. Can the town do that without enabling state legislation? Is it in the town law? The city of New York could not have without the enabling legislation.
I believe so. We have towns that are already 20 miles an hour right now in the books.
Yeah, and we have precedents within our town as well.
That's it. Anthony Pichette, just a quick question, because I see a lot of posts about this and a lot of people, and the reason I even came to the meeting at first was about this. What is, can you briefly explain the procedure to get a road added to that list in the future?
You could send a email to either my office to be passed on to Dave Paganelli, or go directly to Dave Paganelli. He usually compiles everything, so she's sent to the highway department. They compile. They have the traffic safety meeting. Everything's looked at. Then the investigation into that reduction or whatever safety feature is being asked for is looked at, and then they come back, they report on it, and discuss it as a group as to what's legal, what can we do, why can we do it, or why can't we do it. It's not just like, it's not a no, it's a no because of this, or it's a yes because of this, and that's how they go through their procedure. I have only been at one of the meetings myself, because the supervisor usually sits in, and after taking over to Tom, I was in the February meeting, but Dave then had his surgery, so they haven't had one yet.
So Ed, can we just add, when you explore a little bit about Anacourt, the Quaker Ridge Road? That's the road you're talking about, Anthony?
Quaker Ridge.
I'm talking about my road.
Yeah, but the loader part or the Quaker Ridge, like where?
Yeah, the loader and, yeah.
Well,
loader's-
you can't have a conversation while he's not at the mic.
Oh, okay.
Just
But I'm
just
saying-
have him submit what he needs.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, Howard.
Hello. Congratulations, Supervisor.
Thank you, sir.
Question. Howard Gould, first of all, Yorktown Heights since 1999. Hello. When you're driving 40 miles an hour and you get to that 30 miles an hour, how soon will you see the sign that says 30 miles an hour before you have to go 30 miles an hour?
Well, that's sort of what.
Will it be enough time to slow your car down? Or do you have to go stop your car, say, and go that 30 miles an hour as soon as you see the sign?
That was Mr. Kopstein's point. There needs to be a reduced speed limit sign in advance so people can see that coming up. So that's part of what we need to make sure happens.
It'll be like a speed zone ahead. It'll be something like that.
It
We've
will
seen them.
be.
Yeah, it has to be. We I mean, obviously, you're not going to say, okay, we're going from 40 to 30. I
Right,
mean,
and all of a sudden
we
all
wouldn't
of
do
them will
something like
stop
that.
at the
Our
same-
traffic safety committee wouldn't do something like that. Our town attorney wouldn't allow us to do something like that. So, there will be signage that will give you ample time
Right.
to slow down from 40 to 30.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Howard.
I always like to look it up. Section 1622 of the Vehicle and Traffic Law specifically states you can't have a speed limit below 25 except in the school zone.
Well, not when you make the law. I said, not when you make the law.
That state law specifically said county and town.
Can you step to the mic? I mean, please.
So Adam,
The state vehicle and traffic law, it's saying counties and towns cannot.
I've seen it in other places, but Adam?
Yeah, let Adam do his-
1622
let
of
Adam
the
do his
VTL,
research.
He's looking at it.
We'll do his research.
paragraph 1.
We're not going to solve it today.
take a look.
Adam's looking real quick.
Comfortable silence.
Honestly, like, I need time to digest this. I can't do this right now.
So this one will
I suspect that there's probably some, I suspect this is not applicable, but we'll see. I don't know.
all right. If not, maybe we have to send it up to the state to get because New York City just did that, as was pointed out. They did that for their speed cameras, so, but that's a whole nother story.
So Adam's gonna look into it. As far as this public hearing, I mean, I guess we could close it pending we're gonna look at Anna Court, and we're gonna look at,
Well, no, we could just amend.
We
I'd
can
I'd
amend it
rather,
later.
I'd rather get the reduction. But Adam, can I close
I mean,
on this? Or should
my,
I-
yeah, I would, because
Okay.
frankly, this doesn't seem to apply based on its plain terms.
All right, let's get a research on that, and we'll close the public hearing. Can I have a motion?
motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Come on, you can second.
All right. On to personnel. And Tamara's been waiting very patiently. So before
coming.
before we, you know what? Let me do the other ones, and then we'll go into Tamara. Okay. Approves Stefan Lennox to be promoted to the position of maintenance mechanic in the refuse and recycling department. Approve Luke Testa to be appointed to the position of motor equipment operator in the refuse and recycling department. Appoint Marissa Lichto to the permanent position of assistant superintendent of recreation in the Parks and Recreation Department. Appoint Thomas Dunn to the Board of Assessment Review to fill the unexpired term of John Kincart, expiring on September 30th, 2027. And I have one to read in. Be it resolved that intermediate account clerk in the Department of Engineering, Serafina Bravo, receives a stipend in the amount of $5,000 per annum for preparing the New York City DEP reconciliation to be funded through YS 8130.131. Can I have a motion on those?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and before the next one, Yvonne, would you like to come up and introduce Tamara? You can come up too, Tamara.
Good evening, everyone. Yvonne Check. I'm the director of the John C. Hart Library. And we are thrilled to announce that we are able to promote Tamara Hyman, who has been with the library for 2 years as library clerk. And will be filling the vacancy that's going to be created by Margaret Grosha, who is retiring. And we are very sad to see Margaret retire, but we are thrilled to be able to have Tamara step into that role. She has been just an incredible liaison with the public. She is she's got the respect of everyone on our staff, and we are really happy that we're able to bring somebody that's already on our staff and promote them into this role. So she will be supervisor of the circulation department, and the circulation department is kind of the heart and soul of the library and the people that are responsible for greeting the public every day.
Third busiest in the county, right?
And sometimes even first or second busiest, depending on the month.
There you go.
But yes, we're a very, very busy library, and most of the people that come into the library interact only with the circulation desk. So they are the people that are primarily the face of the library. So this is Tamara Hyman.
Yeah, so we did. So Tamara, I understand we did not get to meet you 2 years ago. So you're going to have to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so my name is Tamara Hyman. Like Yvonne said, I've been working at the library for 2 years, almost 2 years. I am excited for this new position, and I'm excited to see where it takes me. And I would like to thank Yvonne and the board for this opportunity. Before working at the library, I actually worked with the mentally ill, substance abuse, and homeless population, and also at PetSmart with dogs.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Congratulations.
Thank
You
you.
have a huge heart.
Very good.
That's awesome.
Very good. Well deserved. Congratulations.
All right, so
Gotta make it official. Don't go anywhere.
while you're there, yes, let's make it official. We want. Can I have a motion to approve Tamara Hyman to be promoted to the position of senior library clerk in the John C. Hart Memorial Library?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
All right, Tamara. Congratulations.
And that will be effective June 1st, I see. All right, open the floor for public comment. And please remember, you do not have to wait for courtesy of the floor. Anytime you are in need of questions being answered, anything you want to talk to the board about, we're all reachable via email or our phone numbers, which are all posted on the town website. Anyone for courtesy of the floor?
Sam Rosenfeld. I'd like to better understand what I've been reading about in the local newspapers having to do with water usage charges and sewer taxes. Apparently, there's a big inequity, and I'm not sure how long it's been here. Maybe for the whole almost 50 years I've been living in Yorktown, and how it's been allowed to go on so long, and what's going to be done about it in the future, and if it's possible to identify some of the people who are benefiting from it, especially if they're people that might have a conflict of interest who are benefiting on it. So, if any of that can be addressed, it would be terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Back again, Martin Costello. And yes, I'm a resident here of Yorktown. I live right on Underhill Avenue. I've seen Sergio in Yorktown Farms, diner sometimes, and we see him having his breakfast and all that. But anyway, yes, I'm here, and I want to talk a little bit about the Underhill Farm project. I just want to read a statement. And I think I speak for many of the neighbors, as well as the Yorktown residents who pass Underhill Farm on a daily basis. I know I pass it like 4 or 5 times a day. And we're not happy to see all those trees cut down. It doesn't look good at all. When we know we have no choice, and I'm not here to oppose the development. We have to accept that the trees had to be cut down. I'm here because my neighbors and I are concerned that some of what has been taking place might be in violation of some of the town codes. We know that there are a series of permits that have to be gotten for Unicorn to go ahead with its project. And our concern is whether or not they're moving ahead before they have the permits. So it looks to us like they haven't got all the permits. For example, I know they have to get a permit from the New York City Department of DEP. They have to okay for a stormwater plan. Can anybody tell me whether or not they have gotten that permit?
We'll address everything at the end of
Okay.
the floor.
Also, we know that Unicorn needs a permit from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers because there are wetlands on the property, and we've learned that Unicorn's application is on hold because it's incomplete. So there's no Army Corps permit. Again, I think all these permits have to be in place before they can proceed. Also, it seems like some of the ground has been disturbed. I know that they cut down the trees, and they're not supposed to be tearing up the roots of those trees until they get all this clarification taken care of. So I'm not sure if they are disturbing it. We have a resident who has seen them pulling up a stump, and we're wondering, did he have the okay to do that? So I didn't see it myself, but there are people who live around there who have made these observations. So I'm not sure if these things are being addressed by the town board here yet. So I'm just bringing it to your attention because I think we want it to be done right. We know, it's kind of sad for me to see what's going on over there, but it is what it is. We just want to make sure all the permits are in place. And I hope you or somebody here can tell us where they are, what status they're at. I don't even know, because I don't follow this stuff that closely, I don't even know how I would go about finding out if a permit is in place. Is that public record someplace? I don't know.
Yeah, your time is up, Martin, and we'll address that as we go.
Yeah, okay. So the last point I'd like to make is possibly getting an environmental consultant to do a site visit, and that would be the same consultant who initially identified the wetlands, and he can determine whether any wetland area has been filled or if stumps have been dug up out of the ground. So we hope you can address these issues for us.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Susan Siegel. I'd appreciate updates on two topics, sewers and code enforcement. First, the sewers. As one resident has already asked you a question, how on the sewer charge, how and when are you going to address the inequities and the unfairness in what sewer homeowners are paying for their sewer service? Why are some homeowners paying $16.30 for this year, and others are paying more than $100 for the same service? Where's the fairness or the rationale for having 5 different ways to assess the same sewer charge? When are you going to straighten out the sewer maintenance expenses so that the 4,000 taxpayers in the Halleck's Mills Sewer District aren't subsidizing the 4,100 taxpayers in the Peekskill Sewer Districts? Or is it the other way around? Who's subsidizing who? No one knows. Isn't it time that this accounting mess was straightened out? What are your plans for addressing the infrastructure problems in both of the sewer districts? Are there any new specific plans for the Halleck's Mills Sewer Extension District? Not, we're just going to look for grants. That's too vague. What are the plans for the Hunter Brook Pump Station? That could very well block the Toll Brothers project on Catherine Street that is projected to generate about $1 million in revenue for the town and the Yorktown School District. Earlier this month, I sent you a report that detailed these problems. The problems are not new. They've been known for many, many years. And while some of you on the town board are relatively new to town government, now that you have the report, you've been alerted to these problems. So my question remains, when are you going to start addressing these issues with real solutions? And if you've misplaced a copy of my report, you can get another copy from the town clerk's office, or anyone from the public can ask the clerk's office for a copy of the report, because they're the taxpayers who are paying this charge. The second update I'd like you to address is, what are you doing about the multiple code violations at the Fieldstone Manor development off Strawberry Road? I raised this issue to you at your March 19th meeting, and at that time asked you to look into the issue. Do you have any information to report back to us tonight? But to refresh your memory, the violations involve the conversion of the stone building into 6 apartments and a commercial event space. Both conversions were done without the required building permits, and the event space was a violation of the zoning code, which did not allow a commercial use in that residential zone. It's true that after the violations were made public in December, the building code did issue a violation notice for the apartments. That was on December 6th, but as of April 17th, the violation was still open, and there's no record that building permit or a CO was ever issued for the apartments. So a question, are the apartments still occupied? And if so, do they comply with the planning board resolution that required 2 of the apartments to be to conform to the affordable housing rent guidelines in our town code?
Susan, your time's up.
Okay. What are you doing about these violations? Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Good evening. I'm Lynn Briggs, Chairman of the Yorktown Heritage Preservation Commission and Chairman of the New York State Washington Rochambeau Revolutionary Route Organization.
W3C. Is it
W3R.
I was close. It's off by one letter.
Okay. A little while ago, you heard me speak about the upcoming Rochambeau Festival, celebrating the Rochambeau encampment in Yorktown in 1781, an important event in Yorktown's history and the Revolutionary War. But I'm speaking at this time also as the YHPC chair to request the town board take action to preserve any potential archaeological artifacts that may be associated with the encampment. As you know, the YHPC has advised both the planning board and the town board many, many times over the last 2.5 years that there is sufficient evidence to suggest that the encampment took place on or in the proximity of the Underhill Farm development. And because of this evidence, the developer is required to have an archaeological monitoring plan in place while the ground is being disturbed. But you've just heard from one speaker that the ground disturbance has already taken place on the property, and it's likely to continue even before the monitoring plan is in place. A monitoring plan, I must add, that is deficient. This plan does not acknowledge the Revolutionary War encampment, nor does it acknowledge potential artifacts on the property, nor does it outline any potential battlefield techniques to rule in or out whether there is a presence of archaeological artifacts, such as metal detection, ground-penetrating radar. So, if the ground is allowed to continue to be disturbed before an adequate archaeological investigations take place, our community may lose any possible archaeological artifacts dating back almost 250 years. Monitoring that will take place after the ground has been disturbed is pointless. It's like giving the patient antibiotics after the patient has died. As the town board, not the planning board, is responsible for enforcing town code, the YHPC requests that your board direct the staff to stop the ground disturbance now before any more takes place, and it's too late. And also we ask that you direct the planning board to require the developer to address the deficiencies in the monitoring plan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Matt Talbert, Chairman of Parks and Recreation. It has just come to my attention the alienation of parkland that has never come in front of the Parks and Rec Commission. We have no information on this. We've never seen any plans, and I ask that it be recirculated back to the Parks and Rec Commission so we can further look into this. That's 109 Granite Springs Road. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Dan Strauss. I just wanted to thank everyone who participated in the Battle of Yorktown for doing that job. I've been doing it, I guess, for 10 years on my own, and I'm trying to keep the town of Yorktown from going down the drain, so to speak. With the beauty, clean and green. That's the motto of the town. It's always been that. And it's unfortunate a lot of people don't view it that way. I also think back, you were talking about Arbor Day and the celebration. And I know you're going to immediately think of Dan and the trees. And I look at all the work the young kids did, and I looked at it 9 years ago when I first started talking here. And at that time, someone was taking down trees illegally, and it hasn't changed in the name of progress. So at least I was encouraged to read, though, that the governor of Connecticut, he just took down 180 trees on his $7 million property, and the neighbors were all up in arms, and nothing was done. He was given a notice of violation, just like the guy a year ago who took down 100 because he wanted a skating rink, and nothing was done. But Lamont was given a notice of violation also, which is wonderful. And I've always said this town is an event town. So I congratulate you on continuing to make it an event town. It's not a walkable town. I know someone's going to comment again about that, but it's not. It's not designed for that. And no one really cares anyway, to be honest. They care about the events. And lastly, to your point, Ms. Howitt, you want more people to come to meetings. And tonight was encouraging because more people talked than usual. But I will make the comment that you cut it down to 3 a month, as far as I know. I thought there were 3 meetings a month. Yeah. Which will probably make them longer on certain occasions, not every time. But I think it might behoove the board to make sure that the meeting starts at 7:30, because it says televised meeting 7:30 all over. And the meeting should start on time. And I know you have work to do before, but I believe that you should make sure that you do the work that you need to do before, so the meeting can start on time. Therefore, people would know that they're going to have a meeting to go to at 7:30, rather than sometimes 8, and it's been as long or as late as 8:30 before the meeting starts. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
Anyone else for courtesy of the floor?
Hi. Anthony Pichette. First, I do appreciate allowing allowing people to speak during the public hearings. I know I see some eyes rolling when people come up or whatever, just because it's long, but I appreciate, because sometimes there's subjects that people do want to talk about and learn about, because at least me, I'll just speak for myself. So first of all, like everybody in this town, just because we were talking about earlier, the work that the librarians do, even the salary on that, everyone thinks everyone's underpaid, but my goodness, they're so helpful, and the kids, my kid loves going there. Every kid loves going there, and then the events they have. I wish they had more, but that's probably due to funding. They're just a wonderful group, and everyone knows that. I'm talking about how adorable puppies are, for crying out loud. It's the same thing. Everyone loves a library. So she said, as more you talk about, getting more funding to the library, maybe other people will agree. And I'm sure they agree. So the reason I wanted to come and speak today was, I don't want to get too into, I know we just had a heated election for supervisor of Yorktown, so I can only imagine what is to come, in the next several months. So I know there were some posts, everyone puts signs, and we're talking about signs. I know that's an exhausted topic, but the reason I'm speaking to it is because I'm just wondering if you could talk about it, because I had a sign, someone come on my lawn and take a sign down once, and then we put more signs on, and it was the spray painted picture that was posted. I actually just sent it to someone that got a line, but whatever, that's what it is. But I'm speaking because it affected me personally. I have a kid right there, and for someone to come in and do that, and maybe, because I put a sign on, does that make it okay for someone to do it? Is that okay? You put a sign on, you're getting in a political race, it's okay. It's just a sign, guys. So hopefully, and I saw your post on Facebook, Ed, and I understand, if you redo it, you might want to say something different. Trust me, I know. I often wish to say something different, but I'm just wondering, as the board and the leaders of all the town, it just could speak to that, because it's scary, and one happened overnight. I was driving to a park with my kid, and we saw that, I wonder if we could try our best, because even if I saw, I'm not, I'm not a fan of Trump, and the reason I'm saying is if someone spray painted a sign that said Trump, I'd boot their ass off that, off that property faster than anything. So just wondering if you could speak to that. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else for courtesy of the floor? Motion to close courtesy of the floor?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. John, could you talk a little bit about Soundview? I know Dan has done inspections there, but what you have.
Yes, Dan has done inspections there, multiple inspections. We've also been out there. So I'll go through in terms of the permitting. They do have a tree permit for tree removal for only a particular area of trees, which they were limited to. Wasn't the entire tree removal for the entire project, so it was only a certain section. They were not allowed and are not allowed under that permit to remove stumps, and to my knowledge, they're not. This is the first I heard that there was somebody that saw a stump removed. So
I did not see any holes from stumps when I was
right. Nor did Dan's office. We did not make an inspection pursuant to that issue. Dan's office usually does that. So Dan has been out there to make sure that the work is going according to what is permitted and that they are not exceeding any of those allowed scopes of work, which to his mind they're not. He asked them to do more, more adequate erosion controls.
He just walked in.
Oh, well, then he can explain himself. But so that has been looked at. We are monitoring it. We're well aware of it. They have a permit to do the work that they are doing, and they have not exceeded that according to our knowledge. And I mean
Or
the
our
town's
inspections.
or our inspections, correct. In terms of the DEP permit, I don't believe that they have that yet. It is forthcoming. I've been told that it will come out very soon, within days, possibly. It is not unusual that the DEP permit comes after the planning board permit. In fact, that is the standard practice, which I will speak to a little bit more in a second. In terms of the Army Corps, they don't have their permit either, but the typical practice is that it's similar to DEP, is that those permits are actually issued after a planning board permit, so it's not unusual. In terms of not being a complete application, Army, just like my department, will receive documents in support of an application, and if there's more documents needed or more information needed, we will say this is incomplete, you need to give us this. So that is not unusual either, but I would expect that they have the wherewithal and the amount of knowledge for their site that they can provide to Army if and when they continue with that, pursuing that permit. I said that there's no stumping. In terms of an environmental consultant, Dan's office, well-versed in this kind of activity, and it would be wasteful for us to engage our environmental consultant for understanding visually what work is happening. So yeah, we just don't anticipate the need to do that. I want to point out that I think the public should understand that in terms of other permits, DEP, Army Corps, there's a law that we have to follow, the State Environmental Quality Review Act law, we call it SECRA, which requires the planning board and or the town board, if the town board is issuing a permit, to engage other entities to look at the application and to provide information to the lead agency, which would be, if you're issuing a permit, typically you. In this case, it was the planning board. Those agencies have a duty under SECRA to provide information to the planning board that's pertinent to the application. It's their duty to do so under that law. The practice is that we refer all of this material to all of these agencies and other agencies that wish to get the documents, that wish to put in information into the planning board's process. We refer those documents. And we have to do that as a matter of law. We do that, and to the extent that an entity such as DEP, New York State DEC, or the Army Corps provide information is up to that agency. So when they don't provide the proper information, we, won't know what they know, right? But they have the duty, but as an independent agency, there's no provision in the law to force them, okay? I just want to make that clear. But they do have a duty. So all of those agencies interested and or involved have a duty under the law to provide information to the lead agency, in this case the planning board, so that they are making the most complete, rational approval that they can, with as much knowledge as they can. The duty of all people that want to be involved in it. I want to make that clear. In terms of the historic issues, under SECRA, the planning board went through a very robust review process and had all of the evidence that was provided to them and that they gathered themselves from commentary and produce an approval that will, allow this development to take place with the preservation of the mansion. They looked at and had evidence that they gathered themselves and that the applicant was required to gather under the state law and the process that governed some of this historic resource issues under SECRA. They had all that information and evidence, and the conclusion was that what is approved can go forward and that there is not sufficient evidence of an encampment that was actually on that property. Okay, not sufficient evidence in that process. So the approval is clean in that regard. Because it was referred around, there was experts that were involved, experts that the applicant had, and that we had our own expert look at it, and there was other folks involved in historic issues that were also involved and invited to be involved. There was not evidence to support that conclusion. So that's why there's an approval there now without some of the other things that have been mentioned that one could do to investigate. In terms of the disturbance that's happened there now, superficial disturbance that you would expect if you need to take down a tree and then remove some of the not the stumps, the logs that have ensued and cutting them up and so forth. There's also a permit to demolish the outbuildings that need to be removed. So that work is also taking place. That can cause some surface disturbance. Anything that's in the ground, it wouldn't necessarily disturb, just as a matter of fact. I want to also point out and remind you guys, which I'm sure that you recall, part of the investigations included, in terms of finding evidence, doing shovel tests. So you dig in the ground, see what's in there. If you find artifacts, then you have something. If you don't find artifacts, you don't. Then you move 10 feet down and you dig another hole. You do that all across the site. All of that stuff has to be documented into a report, not only sent to the planning board, but sent to the state in this case. So all of that protocol was followed, and there was no evidence in those shovel tests to support that. Now, I want to point out, I'm talking about evidence. You find something, it's evidence. Saying there may be something there is not. Okay, big difference. Okay, and again, all of the agencies involved in any of those these approvals have to do it based on evidence that they find and that they can, reasonably understand what it means. None of that was found. So still, why we're still talking about evidence hasn't been given to the planning board yet. That even though we stand here 18 months, 24 months, 30 months, even 36 months later, that evidence is not here still today. So I just want to make that clear.
In fact, I know we have evidence of a Rochambeau site based on a stone that was placed over at the Grange.
That could be, yeah.
Because that area was, from what I understand, the encampment.
So without getting too deep into it, the planning board looked at all of the issues regarding and revolving around not only that issue, but other historic issues. And there's a whole record worth of stuff available through my office that you can look at.
Very good. Thank you, John. All right, Dan, I think that John pretty much addressed everything there. So I'll hit a couple things. For the sewer and water, it's the discrepancy in the water bills are based on some people get water from different areas. It doesn't come from Yorktown water, and those charges can be different based on what the municipality charges them. That's out of our control. As for the sewer, to answer Susan's question, it's been a long time as she sat on two of the boards that have kicked this down the road for the sewers. I will tell you that it's based on how the sewer districts were formed. Back in the day, they were formed with different things. There's also how much debt they incurred when they were built. And those sewers need to be, those debt you can't pass on to another sewer district. I know at one point, a former supervisor wanted to condense everything. That was fought by the board. It might have been a solution. I don't know. Right now, we're looking into the feasibility of how we can condense our districts and not have, what is it, Dan, 7 different sewer districts right now? Yeah, 7 different sewer districts. That's why there are 7 different ways of taxing it. But I will tell you that it's something I was speaking to from day one to our new assessor on getting it addressed and getting it taken care of and not kicking it down the road anymore. It will not be popular, but it's something that has to be done. And I will make sure that that happens during my time here. We can't have a back and forth. As for the Halleck's Mills sewer and the pump stations, we have 5 pump stations being reworked right now. They're in the engineering plans are in. It's all been passed, and we made sure when I came in that these jobs got moving, and EDR is working on them as they were the ones approved for it. The Halleck's Mills sewer, we are prevented because of the cost of doing it without finding additional funding. So we really have no choice but to wait for grants, and I think, Susan, you understand that because you sat in this seat. The state will not let us raise people's taxes $2,000, $3,000 a year for sewers, rightfully so. So it comes down to dollars and cents, making sure the state can approve it and that things don't get added. Now, unfortunately, we look at one of Susan's favorite things, the fluoride treatment plant. Every time we get to a finish line, they move the line back. Just happened again. We were told we had to get a monitoring system for the water coming in. When were we told? Right after the final inspection. Oh, wait. I know we did a final, but let's get this done. So we get things thrown at us by different regulatory agencies that unfortunately prevent us from being able to move to that next step. I know it's been a problem throughout. We spoke about this very much during the election cycle, and it's a very frustrating thing. And I'll tell you what, for everyone frustrated by it, I'm a corporate guy. It really frustrates me. I'm not a municipal guy by my nature. So my experience in my former life is all corporate, and you make a decision and you get it done. Unfortunately here, we have a lot of hands in the cookie jar, and they push us in different ways. We are working on, though, the different I&I, the water coming into our flow, our inflow of water into the sewer, which during rainy season goes up, which means we have holes in the pipes, broken pipes. So we're working on that to make sure that our sewer system is secured. Dan is working on smoke testing. There are a whole different bunch of ways we look at our sewers and make sure that we don't have illegal water coming into it or water that shouldn't be going into it. So that is something that we are working on. And as stated, I will not kick this down the road as a supervisor, Susan. So be aware that your concern has been being addressed.
Ed, elaborate that. This is not something that's going to be fixed in 6 weeks.
No, absolutely not.
The people need to hear that.
Yeah, and thank you, Patrick. So the process for, like we spoke about pump stations, the process is that it's in engineering planning right now. Those plans come back, they have to be approved. They have to be approved by Board of Health, Dan? And who else? Just Board of Health, okay. So Board of Health has to give us a stamp of approval. It could take them, I don't know, 3-4 months to get to us. We try pushing it, but we have to wait for the process to air out. We cannot go ahead and do it without making sure it's done right. And that's why those regulatory agencies are there. So we will look at that, and we will keep moving forward.
Supervisor, is there a checklist of good questions to ask so that there aren't any future surprises? Or are these surprises just...
Now, you know what? The Board of Health, I was on the phone with Dr. Amler, and she was like, I'm sorry, we blew this one.
Oh, all human
There are
mistakes are-
checklists. The engineering should have caught it. Board of Health engineering should have caught it because it's their system per se on what their regulatory is.
Or what they need to pass it.
Right. So unfortunately, that's where we were. Okay, sewers. Code enforcement. I have spoken to our building inspector a couple of times. They have been working with the applicant to get everything fixed and where it needs to be, and every just like with the trees and the things where people do things where they're not supposed to, any fees are doubled on those permits, and they're making sure that everything is up to speed. With everything going on, I have not followed up in a couple of weeks, so I will do so at my next major projects meeting. Matt, 109 Granite Springs Road has been around a while. I'm not sure. Adam, that never got referred out when we were, because these plans have been there for.
Well, it's been around for a long time. I was chatting with him about it in the hallway. We'll discuss it offline with them, but they can take it up.
Okay. So are we going to move forward though with
No, I
other
think
questions?
absolutely. I think we should move forward tonight, and
Very
if the
good.
commission wants to discuss it on at their next meeting, they can do that.
Very good. All right. I think that covers most everything I had down.
Well, the last thing is, Anthony, I don't think I could speak for all of us on the board.
Thank you.
That
The signs.
the signs, none of us tolerate that. And I don't think anybody wants to go down that path. The divisiveness that's coming down, it needs to go away. We're all Yorktown residents here, whether you have an R next to your name or a D next to your name. You are all residents. I've been here for 60 years. We're just going to do the right thing by the town. I just talked to you about Fam Jam. That's all local residents that donated and local residents that are receiving. And no one asks if you have an R or D next to your name. There's not one of us that's going to tolerate that. And whoever painted the signs should be criminally charged. So we're not going to tolerate that.
I will say, Anthony, on that. I'm not sure what you saw that I posted because I posted very little. I did say that this is just something that unfortunately happens every election cycle, and it happens on both sides, and it shouldn't be tolerated, and people should be more tolerant. I had one of my neighbors, when Terrence Murphy was running for state senate, had some of his clients tell him, because he had a sign on his front lawn, not on his business, they walked past his house and said, "We're going to badmouth your business if you don't get rid of that sign." I think that's disgusting. I think that, and I've said it 100 times, I don't care who you support. I don't care who you vote for. We should all be caring about the town of Yorktown. That's all it is to it. I don't care if there's a D or an R, and I don't think that's how you should vote. I think you should vote for the person you think is the best person. I don't care what someone's what their political
Party
persuasion is. It doesn't matter. What matters is the decisions we're making for the town. The town decisions are not about the Republican platform or the Democratic platform or the working families platform, the conservative platform. That's not what we deal with here. And there's very, very little that we can do about any of those issues, whether it's state or national. So it is one of the horrible things, one of the horrible things of the election cycles. And the other are the people who want to badmouth people. And you know what? I'll get on my soapbox a little bit. It's horrible. You have people criticize your businesses. You have people criticize your community service because they're looking to make a point politically. Anyone who joins a civic organization and does something, I don't care what party you are, thank you. Anyone who goes around the streets cleaning up, I don't know what Dan's party is. I don't care. I don't care if he supports me. I don't care if he does. I commend you. I respect you for it. And I say thank you. And when
Receive it.
when all of our residents and all of our political parties can get that into their heads, maybe we could have really good debates. Maybe we could have really good conversation. I'm always open for it. I get stopped in every store I go to, and even more now. I get stopped in the diner. I get stopped at Dunkin' Donuts. And you know what? I love it when someone comes to me and says, I have something I want to talk to you about. That's how I met Howard. Right, Howard? Yes. So I don't care. I don't care, and I don't think anyone should care. Find out about the person. Find out what they're going to do for the town. Don't worry about the party affiliation. It doesn't matter. So that's, sorry, let me get off my soapbox now, but it's something that really bothered me through this cycle. Thank you, Howard.
And you want to speak?
I just have two little things, if that's okay. That was heartbreaking to share. You know, and I mean, not only was it violating on your property, just the fears of like why we come to a community to be safe and whatnot, and then to have that. So it was heartbreaking to share, and yet I can look at you and say thank you for being like my soundboard for things when things felt like I was feeling uncomfortable because of the election, and still making space for me, whatever parties we're playing on, like, and having the compassion. I think that just backs kind of. Yeah, so like, you know, full disclosure, I called Anthony and pretty much paced my property for about an hour. But what I'm saying to you, because I was being attacked and I didn't know how to manage it. And it wasn't that they weren't here, it was, I needed someone to hear me. So I think that's kind of what you're saying is like, can we hear each other and listen? And it's ridiculous with the signs. So I came up with, I'm going to have a hologram of myself. So when I run again, you press the button and then there's Luciana and you talk to her and she'll talk back. Like, I mean, this is going to happen. I don't know how. So any techies out there, help a girl out. And the other thing I do want to say.
Talking.
Yeah, more talking. And the other thing I want to say is, speaking of more talking, is Dan, I'm sorry about the late meetings. Sometimes it's my fault. I just feel like there's so many questions, even when we've really gone through the shredder with something. And I've been told, not by everyone on this board, like the time, Lou, the time. So I just want to take ownership for sometimes going over and asking way too many questions. I mean, the Parks Commission can probably vouch for that too. Yes. I can keep you here all night. So I'm sorry.
Honestly, Dan, we're trying to start at 7:30. We were down here a couple of minutes before 7:30 today, but your time is just as valuable as our time. And we're trying to get down here every meeting at 7:30. And I think we've been better in the last couple months.
I throw everyone out of the office, Dan, and if I need to, I'll go back into closed afterwards. So, yeah, I agree with you, too. Thank you for bringing that up, Patrick.
That makes me a little cranky when I get down here, so.
Sir, do you have anything?
So, Aunt, I'm sorry, you know, about what happened. The issue is, you know, there's nothing that we can do when it's after the fact. And you know, it's just like when we talk about, you know, the ATV laws or speeding. I mean, we can't put a police officer on every square inch of every block of every road. Can't be everywhere at once. I mean, and it's unfortunate. And that kind of stuff that's going on in your house, that's the kind of stuff that's happening at 3 o'clock in the morning. And what annoys me is it always kind of like people always point it back to us, and trust me, I'm not doing that at 3 o'clock in the morning, even on both sides of the political spectrum. I mean, so it's unfortunate, and I really don't have a solution for you. You can't legislate bad behavior. I mean, you just can't. So I apologize. I'm sorry. I know you got emotional. Protect your children. I get it. You know where I'm at with all of that, and I'm a big supporter of the kids and the youth in this community. But I wanted to just extend an apology. I think everybody else covered pretty much everything. So,
Thank you, guys. All right, we'll move on to resolutions. From the Building and Maintenance Department, we're going to authorize a bid to be advertised for elevator modernization at the Albert A. Capellini Community and Cultural Center. Just for an understanding of that, the elevator has been down back and forth. It only works sparingly because they cannot find the parts anymore. So we just put out a bid to go out and replace basically all the guts. We can't replace a whole elevator because the shaft that it's in, the box is smaller than what they make nowadays. So I asked our people to just, instead of piecemealing it, let's replace all the works, one thing. So that's going out to bid. From Central Garage, approve a bid extension for repair work on the town automobiles and trucks for 1 additional year. And that's Yorktown Auto Body. From the Engineering Department, authorize the controller to release the erosion control bond for work done at 2420 Orchard View Court in the amount of $500. From the Finance Department, authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer for payment to the East of Hudson Watershed Corporation for the 2023 maintenance of ponds. Authorize the controller to pay Kim Penner the cash value of unused time as of her date of retirement, and authorize the controller to process the following budget transfers as denoted in the agenda. Authorize the controller to pay Michael Samuels the cash value of unused time as of his date of retirement, and authorize the controller to process the following budget transfers as stated. Authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer for the unanticipated expenses associated with the MTA communication project for the police department, and that was $16,745 additional that was needed there. We want to authorize the controller to process the following budget transfer for Parks and Recreation Department, that's for the rehabilitation of the pickleball courts at Granite Knolls Recreation and Sports Complex. Authorize the controller to close the following capital project, the HH Library bathroom renovation as of December 31st, 2023. Authorize the controller to release retainage for the Town Hall entry project in the amount of $9,650.55 to Anthony DeVito and Son, or A. DeVito and Son. Authorize the bid to be advertised for the Voice over Internet Protocol phone system service and replacement upgrade of all voice calling with Cat6 and surveillance security cameras and cabling. Another one of those things that has gotten kicked down the can that got kicked down the road. We are getting that taken care of. And I also want to thank Lorraine, sitting in the front, for her diligent work in getting our phone systems operational to get us past that. She knows the family history of most of the people working at Verizon in their repair center at this time. Good job, Lorraine. Thank you.
You're gonna get a lot of holiday baskets.
From the Highway Department, we're going to authorize the controller to release the following street opening permit to Fritz's Landscaping for work completed at 1365 Aspen Road. From Parks and Recreation, we're going to award the bid for the rehabilitation of the pickleball courts at Granite Knolls Recreation and Sports Complex to DeRosa Sports Construction, Inc., being the low bidder on that job, and also, I think, Jim, the best, in your opinion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From the Planning Department, we're going to authorize Gregory Dietrich Preservation Consulting to perform a review of the historic analysis, conditions, and an adaptive reuse report submitted for the Field Home Mansion in the Toll Brothers project. From the police department, we're going to authorize a member of the Yorktown Police Department to attend a conference involving 3 overnight stays, June 3rd, 4th, and 5th, 2024, to attend the FBI's OPE 2024 Eastern Regional Conference. That is by invitation only, and our police being invited to be there is an amazing attribute to our department, our chief, our line officers. So, great job there. We're going to authorize the chief of police to execute an agreement with Pace Scheduler for an additional $4,060 over the original $8,500 for add-on features to the original program to accommodate YPD scheduling. From refuse and recycling, we're going to authorize a bid to be advertised for the collection and disposal of residential refuse and recycling. From the town attorney, authorize a deputy supervisor to authorize a supervisor to request bill numbers from the New York State Legislature for the alienation of parkland for the construction of a wireless telecommunications facility at 109 Granite Springs Road, and that is a much-needed cell tower that will help the Gomer Street area, which is the black hole of cell phone service in our town, even worse than the Taconic now. We're going to approve the proceedings pursuant to Article 7 of the Real Property Tax Law, challenging the 2020, 21, 22, and 23 assessments of the real property designated on the town's assessment roll as parcels 16.08-1-18 and 16.12-1-24 and 16.12-1-3, the mall at Jefferson Valley LLC. And that's enumerated on the back page. Let's see, sorry. And resolved that the 2020, 21, 22, 23 assessments of the real property designated on the town's assessment rolls parcel 16.08-1-18 and parcel 16.12-30 remain the same as is shown on the final assessment rolls for each of those years. Resolved that upon being presented with a judgment entered in the office of county clerk of the county of Westchester, embodying the terms of the settlement expressed above, the assessor of the town of Yorktown be and hereby directed to correct the assessments of parcel 16.12-1-24 on the assessment rolls for the year 2020, 2021, 22, 23, and conform with the reduced assessment indicated above. And be it further resolved that upon being presented with notice of entry of a judgment entered into the office of the county clerk, county Westchester, embodying the terms of the settlement expressed above, the receiver of taxes be and hereby is directed forthwith to pay the refunds of town taxes caused by such reduction in assessment. And that is based on the prior company that owned the mall and a bankruptcy. So this went to bankruptcy court and was litigated by our team. From the town clerk's office, set public hearing to consider amending Chapter 216, Section 216-2 of the Code of the Town of Yorktown entitled Peace and Good Order. That is for our sound maintenance, our sound ordinance. When are you doing the no-knock list? Okay. Set the public hearing to consider a wetland permit application submitted by Homeland Towers LLC for the proposed construction of a telecommunications facility located at 109 Granite Springs Road, and that is for their access. That will be on the 21st of May, as will the other public hearing. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good night, Yorktown. Thank
Night,
you all for
Yorktown.
coming and watching.